didn't have any gray, and I didn't have any gray,
and
man.
now we're both having gray.
Well, dude, how's it going, man?
It's good. I'm happy. I feel good today. Last week I had a stomach flu for 3 days that just kicked me in the butt.
Right.
I kicked my ass, but I'm good now. I'm really good now, so I'm
well, you
excited.
look good, man. I know 13 years there's a lot in everything. Life is good after 13.
Yeah, you know, family. Yeah, everything's cool. Yeah, it's been good. I mean, great actually. I can't complain right now.
Well, dude, we were watching some video of the making of Hardwired, and you were in there. How much say do you have when that whole process is underway?
Well, for me, you know, what we do is we jam. So we have riffs that kind of birth themselves on tour, sometimes in the tuning room, sometimes people will write, you know, you record stuff on your iPhone, just happens many different places. But this album, which is somewhat different than Death Magnetic, was really a collaborative album. This album kind of stemmed from James's riffs, and what happened was there was so many riffs, and we had jammed on them all, and it was just sounding great. So we just kind of ran with it. So these are accumulation of Hetfield's riffs, and again, like I said, we jam. We spend time together jamming them. It's basically Kirk, James, and I who play. And we have a great producer, and Greg Fiddleman, who was actually the engineer on Death Magnetic. And in the last few years, ever since Death Magnetic, he's been working closely with us on anything recording-wise that we did, whether it was Through the Never, you know, the 3D movie, or Lou Reed, or, you know, that medley we did for the Ronnie James Dio tribute album. So he's been a part of our lives closely for a while, and he's an amazing producer. So we work closely with him, and just basically, you know, my job is to, you know, offer whatever I can in this band. You know, sometimes it's song ideas, you know, like on Death Magnetic, there was a lot of my ideas on there. This time around, it was, again, mostly Hetfield's, but I support that, and you know, I'm like Joe Walsh and the Eagles. You know, Joe Walsh was like, hey, anything to help the Eagles. I mean, yes, I'm a songwriter, whatever, but when I'm here doing my thing with Large, James, and Kirk, I'm here to support whatever we need to do. On Death Magnetic, we had 5 kids born in that cycle, so it was kind of crazy. And I remember my first couple years, I was not in a creative space because I had my first child, and I was also still learning the catalog of songs. At that time, it would have been about 22 years of music, and the new album, which was Saint Anger. So I was not in a headspace to write. But what I did was I ended up supporting Kirk's ideas, because Kirk had a CD with like 300 ideas, and since I was around Lars and James quite a bit at that time, I would try to say, hey guys, check this out. And then, you know, depending on the day, maybe they weren't as interested, and then, you know, get them at the right time, whatever. So I'm kind of, like I said, I'm there. I mean, there was a riff off the Death Magnetic album that James forgot that he wrote, but I had it on a cassette because I thought it was really good. Because with James, that's why now, today, in 2017, we record everything. You know, back then we didn't, but now we do, because someone like Hetfield will be tuning his guitar, and he'll come up with an insane riff and not even really tap into it or realize it. You know, you kind of go, oh, man, that's really good. So in our tuning room, we always have a recording device capturing everything that's coming out of there. And then later on, years down the road, when we're ready to officially write, we go through everything and we listen to it, and then we start jamming on it. Sometimes maybe it's not that exact idea, maybe it turns into something different, but
it's a starting
it's
point.
A starting point.
Yeah. Well, how long after, you know, it's been 13 years now. So, and you mentioned, but how long till you really felt comfortable?
It's going to be actually 14 years in February.
Yeah, so it's been quick,
crazy,
man. Yeah. So when did you really feel, you know, there was that learning process of how you could be, you know, taken into the band. But when did you feel like, yeah, I can really step up and say something here? And was it automatically, or did it take you a while just to kind of get?
Well, the thing about our band is we always listen to each other, and you know, if there's problems, if there's a situation, which doesn't happen very often anymore, especially recently, but if there is, you know, someone will say something, and want to talk about it, and we'll get together and we'll talk about it. And one of the things I've learned in my career, I've been talking. It's funny because I've been talking about it more recently. Is that I've always seemed to become this neutral body in any situation I've ever been in, and kind of the balance, you know, the balance beam or whatever. That it's, you know, when I worked with Ozzy, he was kind of in a crazy place. And Zakk Wylde was in a crazy place, so I had to deal with those two characters, and try to find a balance in that energy. You know, just with certain personalities, if they're drinking a lot or drugging or whatever. You know, with Jerry Cantrell, when I worked with him in 2000, I think part of '99, he was in a really bad place. So I just try to help as much as I can, you know, help him personally, but also help with the songs. Even though he wrote all the songs on that album, so I was pretty much brought in to play bass, and Mike Borden was there as well, and you know, we're there to make those songs sound killer. But at the time, he was battling a lot of demons, so you're inheriting a whole nother situation. And
do you ever wonder sometimes with that, you know, it was just meant to be? It's like, man, they know that where you're at, and they may think, let's get this cat because he might be able to be, he might be the one factor that gets us where we need to be.
I think it's helpful, you know. Yeah. I know people in my life, like, well, I learned from my family, because in my life, and I think we can all vouch for that in our own personal lives. We have situations where you know, you got certain family members that are you know, you're walking thin ice, or you're walking that tightrope. Yeah. So you learn, and then for me, I bring that into this universe, because musicians can be complicated. Artists in general, that's also what makes them great. Sure. You know, that craziness makes them special, and you know, that's kind of how it's evolved for me at age 52. I'm gonna be 53 soon, and I've just realized, you know, in any band I've ever been in, even Suicidal Tendencies, whatever, has always sort of had to balance that energy and just try to make it work with the people and the team that I'm working with, and make the best music possible, and create a balanced environment. When I first started doing this with Suicidal, I wasn't as balanced, and I was a loose cannon a couple times. There was some fights, and you know, that could have gone really, really bad. I mean, there was even a fight on stage with Metallica. When Metallica was playing with my guitar player, Rocky. We were like best friends. Twice we got in these brawls, and one of them was on stage during the Metallica set when we were touring with them in 1993. I body slammed him, and I almost knocked over Hetfield's guitars. And man, they were playing. The crew at the time was getting a kick out of it, because that's where they were at. Oh yeah, cool. Oh, yeah. A brawl on stage. Awesome, but you know, those were the days. Yeah, yeah. But you know, it's one thing when you're 25.
Sure, you grow up.
It's another thing when you're, you know, as you get older. You know, those incidents can just don't work anymore. So,
Well, real quick, we got to wrap this up, but I want to ask you real quick. I know you're proud of your son, what he's doing. How awesome is that? And your thoughts on Chris Cornell, Greg Allman, and we lost Batman too, man.
We did lose Batman, yeah. Well, I was really surprised by the loss of Chris Cornell, and you know, one of the ultimate voices in rock music, hands down. And you know, it's sad because with Chris, I didn't know him very well, but I knew him, but I didn't hang out with him. But when I did see him or talk to him, he was always very reserved. And one thing about people, especially creative people, that can be reserved, you know, you never know what's going on inside. And I guess that's why for me, I always try to generally get a, you know, to get, if I'm working with them, to get a connection and see if I can help, because you never know what's going on, man. And that situation is very, very unfortunate, especially when you have kids and a family. So it's tough, it's sad, and you know, obviously there was some really intense stuff going on deep inside of him. But you know, on a positive, another note, my son, blown away by him because he did it all on his own. You know, they ran into those guys, Fieldy and Jonathan, over at the airport in LA when we were on our way to Minneapolis to play Metallica show, and you know, Fieldy, you know, was like, wow, I'm really, you know, I'm a fan of your son's work, and you know, follow him on Instagram. You know, they met each other for the first time, and he pulled me aside and said, hey, I can't do these shows in South America. I'm seriously thinking it'd be cool to check out your son. Maybe he'd be into going. And I didn't really believe him, but he sent the set list, and then a few months went by and he contacted me again. And then I asked Ty, and I said, if you want to do this, you can try out. And then I looked at the schedule, and it was the month that I was actually off, which is crazy because, as you know, we're touring now, and that was the month, April. And I was like, whoa, okay, maybe this is meant to be, you know. And I'd go on tour for 2 weeks. I'd come home, he'd learn 7 more songs. I'd go away again, he'd come back, and he'd have 5 more. And what impressed me about him is he was playing a 5-string for those gigs. He doesn't normally play a 5-string, and that was impressive. And then he was doing a lot of slap technique, which is another thing that he can do, but it's not like it's not his main thing. So he really transformed into another type of player to play this gig. And I told him, you know, you're being hired as a professional. You know, you've got to stay on your game. You've got to, you know, gave him the whole spiel, and he did. Every day he practiced a set. And it's always uncharted territory with a 12-year-old. It's like, what's going to happen when we go down to South America?
You deal with adults that can't even
I know. I go, are you getting nervous? Do you freeze up? Is he going to freeze up? Is he going to hit a bad note and then all of a sudden not want to play? And then, you know, if he gets sick, oh my God, that's really the worst thing, because it happens. And he powered through on all aspects. And his performance physically was incredible. I couldn't believe, because they're a physical band, you know, a lot of head banging, and this kid was just on fire, and then took it to another level by the end of the 2 weeks.
He's playing with a pretty good drummer too. Yeah,
he was playing with Ray Luzier, who's a guy that I've actually, in my career, you know, especially auditioning drummers, he was always one of the top guys. You know, at the end of the day, it was always between him and like 1 or 2 guys, you know, and so Ty was very blessed and honored, and he's got other things coming up too now that are going to be pretty incredible. So his door is starting to open. And
how's Mom feel about it?
Mom is stoked. We're all happy for him, and he's doing his thing, and he's doing it on his own. And I'm there, you know, when I can be to help. I talked to him last night. You know, we FaceTime each other. But the beauty of it is he picked up the instrument on his own. He originally played drums, And then at 5 years old, he retired drums and started bass. And yeah, and he's just really, you know, motivated. He's really focusing on songwriting right now. So.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
brother, I know she's ready. I appreciate you
Yeah,
taking
man.
some time, man.
Hey, I appreciate
y'all got
Yeah.
a nice little trip ahead of you, and have a great summer.
Thank you so
just
much.
Be blessed, and I appreciate you
Thank
doing
you.
what you do and taking
Thanks.
this time.
Yeah.
And
Right
if you
on.
could just say hello to Lubbock, Texas, right there.
Lubbock, Texas.
We'll see you
What's
soon.
up? Metallica loves you. Come on. Hope to
right.
see you soon.